Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome once again to HJBC and our coverage of the Reddit iRacing League. Tonight is Season 26, Round 2, and for a lot of people it's a very, very familiar combination. Street stocks at 1.5 mile Charlotte Oval. Tonight's race is going to be 40 minutes and qualifying is underway right now. An open session, all cars on track together, and you're going to have to be quite careful because any little bump down the back straight anywhere along would invalidate a particular lap time, so all the drivers are going to need to courteously give each other room. But for tonight's coverage, our producer is Michael Derby, I'm David Haynes, and alongside me is going to be Mia Ott. And your thoughts on this one, because you commentate a bit of Australian stuff, a bit of sports cars, but probably not a lot of ovals, am I thinking that right?
No, I mostly drive the ovals. Well, completely different to what road racing is, so tonight will be something different, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed. So let's have a look at those times as they are right now. We've had a very, very strong turnout so far in Season 26. More than 40 cars for Round 1, and we've kept a lot of them here for Round 2. 34 different cars have appeared, and I see 32 or 33 out on track right now, but so far the fastest time belongs to Justin Layman's. Second place, Evan Merrill, is, of course, the margins are very fine, less than a tenth behind, and then third right now, Christopher Flamian. So the regulars have risen to the top here, but certainly there's a chance of an upset, some kind of surprise. We might get the word of the director in my ear and we'll find a car and follow along for a lap or two. There's not, I guess, a whole lot of features to talk about in a 1.5 mile oval like this in cars with a moderate amount of horsepower. We'll take a look at John Patrick because I think it's that 35 degrees Celsius track temperatures out there. That's probably your mid 80s, high 90s. We'll take a look at Alexander Bueller now. Tyre wear is going to be a factor throughout the length of the race, and while you might be pretty quick the first or second lap of a run, eventually you're going to have to be careful with your inputs, even with all the banking that we've got.
Yeah, exactly, and with the street stocks being where they are, they've got not a lot of downforce in particular, so you've got to be wary, as you said, be wary of the inputs, and also as well, how long you want to keep on the throttle through the corners, because the more throttle you have in the car, the more tyre wear you have. So with it being a 40-minute race, not a 20 lap as you would see in the rookie series, it'll all be about tyre life over fuel saving. Yep,
indeed. And of course, we are going to see green flag pit stops in the race that's coming up. Cautions disabled. There will be no cautions, but race a little bit too long for the fuel tanks. We'll be expecting to see some pit stops in the race, and that will be provide some excitement as well. Looking at last season's champion, Alex Albert, and he's down in 25th right now, which is maybe not where we'd expect him. He did have some good showings on ovals last season, so potentially an improvement for him coming along. He's just been bumped down to 26th. Now he crosses the line and improves all the way up into 4th. So that is a solid effort from him, improving to a 38.749.
They got a bit of traffic there as well in front of him. And also as well, you see in this qualifying session a lot of cars bunked up in packs, and you can see the cars that are in the middle of the pack possibly gaining a lot of time from the slipstream, but Albert at the moment stuck a little bit. Oh, he's going to get tapped around. So
Cops a tap in the left rear quarter from Ryan Verholst, who pushed up a little bit wide. And that's the thing about the open qualifying sessions, isn't it? Is that you can grab a slipstream off someone else, but it's also possible that some other cars around you could tangle with you or get in the way of your best run. You might not be best pleased with that, but that's kind of you play with fire, you get burnt. A lot of these drivers looking for a drafting buddy, and not everyone playing as nicely as others.
no, you don't want someone stealing your draft, but you want someone else's draft. So it's all about literally out of the pit exit. It'll be a game of cat and mouse in this session. We've only got about 6 minutes left in it, so we'll see if anyone can improve on Justin Lemos's 36.693.
Just the finest margins of tenths could move a lot of drivers further up, further down, and obviously the tires not lasting perfectly through a stint, because I can see some drivers like Martin Lippincott have had 5 different sets of tires so far in this qualifying session, and Justin Lehmans has used 4. Evan Merrill's used 5 sets of tires. A lot of them going out there trying to improve, and if it doesn't immediately come to them, into the lane for a new set of tires. So that always seems to be the way of the tires on these street stocks, is that there's 2-3 laps where they're quite good, and then it just drops to a plateau that they stay at. They don't continually gradually wear down. They're just sort of good, and then they're okay.
Yeah, it's not, as you said, it's not a cliff. It's not a massive drop off in these tires. It's very weird to get used to, because you have the 2 or 3 laps where you've got a lot of grip, where you want to make a lot of time, but you don't really want to use it all. And then after those 2 or 3 laps, they're at a nice flat plateau, and then everyone's on an even playing field with less grip, and hopefully we don't have any wrecks of tyre wear during the race.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll look around, and there's a big pack going on right now. It's got the likes of Jordan Babcock, Philip Linden, David Hall, and Zach Price leading that one. And those cars have all sort of ended up together. And Zach Price in the 118 gets a good run off of turn 4 and towards the line. Is this going to move him up the order anywhere? He's currently 19th, and he hasn't improved on that one, but there was a slight improvement for, I think it was Philip Linden just then. Justin Hall improves. Time's coming in, and the track temperatures have dropped just a smidge from when I called them out earlier. So certainly there's a few drivers that could still manage an improvement. The track isn't going away from them at the moment.
No, then they're all running really different lines as well. You see some using that white line, others are in the middle of the circuit, some of them are all the way at the wall on their outlaps. So they're all trying to find a very different line, seeing what they could do, and with the track temp just cooled down the speeds. It might actually start cooling down as well as the sun comes down here to this afternoon. So we'll see what times can happen. We've only got 3 minutes left, so they've got really a max of 2 or 3 runs left to see what they can do.
I mean, you go an out lap, maybe you need another lap to get properly up to speed, and then there's only really time for 2 runs, 2 goes at it, 2 bites at the cherry left right now. So who is down the order further that we think might improve? Austin Burdick in 27th. He typically runs a bit stronger than that on some ovals, so interesting to see him down there.
He might be looking for a drafting partner here, as he's got a couple of cars in front of him. So he's only got about 2 minutes left to get a good time on the board. At the moment, he's just 27th, just under 3/10 away from pole. So small margins can really hurt if you're at the back of the field. So let's see what he can do. He's got a bit of a draft from the 2 cars in front. They're all spread apart, so this might actually help him a lot here.
Yeah, Burdick's just done a 50.3, which is obviously an outlap, a sort of warm-up lap, and then he's a good distance behind the cars in front where he will be picking up a tow, but he's not going to catch them or get any problems from the fact that they're in front. So we'll see what this lap does for him. Certainly, I think he's in a good spot in the traffic to be able to put in a pretty reasonable lap. So he's going to come across the line right about now. And the lap's at 37.4, so that's not an improvement for him. That's still 0.4 off his best. We'll see what he has on this lap, but I think he's losing a little bit of touch of the slipstream in front. He's got Zach Price in the 118, who's getting the benefit of his draft. And still 21st for Zach Price. Could improve. Nate Franklin improves to 3rd on the grid. So there's time to be made out there if you can get yourself in the right spot on track. Burdick and Price cross the line, and Price moves up into 16th, but no improvement for Austin Burdick. Interesting there. And we're now in the last minute of the qualifying session, so laps that drivers are on, they'll be able to complete, but no one is going to get out of pit lane and start a run at this point.
No, so the group of cars you're seeing at the moment are really the last group of cars that could set a lap here. They're going 3 wide in the qualifying session, so Burdock got a bit held up there with Price on the inside line. This won't be an improvement, has a guess. 36.9, so he did improve up to 23rd now. So, but he's only got 1 more lap, so all these cars are now on their last lap. The qualifying session is now over. Checkered flag is out, so we'll see if they can improve or not when their times. Nope. Burdock and Price into the wall, so those two are not going to set another time. Pack of 4, though. They come in the last corner.
Marshall Stanley just gone into the wall, makes contact with the 009. Of Jeff Costello, and yeah, those cars not getting cleanly to the line. Checkered flag in the air, and I don't see anyone, with the exception maybe Philip Linden, who's on pit road. Martin Lippincott bringing it onto pit road, so that will about wrap up qualifying, and we'll take a quick look at how they've all stacked up. 34 cars in the end taking part in qualifying. And Justin Lehman's the fastest of them, so he'll start on the front row of the grid alongside Evan Merrill. Row 2 will then be Nate Franklin and Christopher Flamion. Then behind that is Alex Albert and John Patrick.
And then from there on back, you've got Michael Roth in 7th. 8th will be Ryan Verlis. 9th will be Giovanni Romano. And 10th position, rounding out the top 10, will be Alexander Bula.
Brian Molitor, Jordan Babcock in 12th. So any Babs Nation fans tuned in, let us know and cheer on your boy. Zach Price in 13th, like we were watching some of him in his qualifying. Marshall Stanley gets 14th. Mike Henry Jr. then in 15th. John Macchione 16th. 17th is Dylan Blanton. Might have expected a little more from him. 18th, Dennis Helverson. 19th, Daniel Bartz. 20th, Shane Cameron. 21st, Justin Hall. 22nd, Antonio Alvarez. So those two buddies deep in the field there. 23rd, Jeff Costello. 24th, Austin Burdick. Jeremy Rogers has 25th. 26th, Martin Lippincott. 27th, David Cahall. 28th, Philip Linden. 29th, Andrew Wheat. 30th, Ben Dunn. Getting towards some cars that may not have set representative times and might not expect on the grid with Corey Ensing, Kyle Smith, Daniel Thompson, and Matt Reed. And I have to say, I love the way the cars line up on the start-finish straight at this updated Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, it's very good for the fans, for the virtual fans, and especially for the ones on the broadcasters. I'm guessing the director is giving a very nice shot of these cars. They're lined up on the front straight here, so have a couple seconds left until they start rolling off, and the way they roll off is amazing here.
But it reminds you a little bit of a Le Mans style start almost, just to see all the cars lined up one side of the racetrack, staggered like that. Of course, the drivers don't run across the track and to start them, but, you know, see them all lined up, staggered, and then they'll pull away behind the pace car. So 40 minutes of racing ahead of us as the pace car gets going, and so too do our front cars. And then we'll end up seeing exactly how many are out for the start of this race. As we mentioned, 40 minutes of racing coming ahead of us, no cautions, so there will be green flag stops. And I think the fuel tank will kind of go towards 30 minutes, but the way the tyre life is, I imagine the default strategy would probably be to pit at about halfway. We'll see if anyone tries for an aggressive undercut and who decides to stay out long.
Yeah, it'll all be about that fuel, but no one I think would be wanting to take tyres. That is the longest part of the stop. I think tyres will take into excess of 20 to 30 seconds, so you'll easily lose a lap on pit road if you do take tyres around there.
I imagine the fueling is not particularly quick either, and realistically the benefit you get off a new set of tyres might be worth it if you can get it accomplished in the same amount of time that you get the fuel fill done. And of course there's always the option of only changing right side tyres as well, so that's a possibility. Don't know if we'll see that, but we'd know. Pace car pulls in, our 2 leaders waiting. Justin Lehman's waited all the way until the green flag came out to put the power down. Evan Merrill caught a little bit napping. Nate Franklin will go to the inside there for the lead. Christopher Flamin in the Punisher livery car holds on to 4th for the time being. Have a look a little bit deeper in the pack where they are 2 wide. Michael Roth and John Patrick. John Patrick on the high side is going to lose out a little bit there. And season 24 champion Giovanni Romano sporting his typical purple car in the 99 part of that pack. But our top 4 are almost trying to form a little bit of a breakaway. They're still side by side up there.
Yep, 2 by 2 side by side. They'll try and keep it as close as they can because they don't want that pack behind them trying to catch up. They come around to finish the first lap of many here tonight. Still side by side behind them as well. You can see there's only 1 car leading that pack, and then 2 by 2 from there on back.
So Nate Franklin has worked his way up 2 spots into the lead of the race right now, and he's side by side with Lamans, and Evan Merrill behind in 3rd, giving a little bit of the bump draft, I think, to put Lamans' nose back in front. And Flamian has just been content to ride along in the slipstream there. Michael Roth has caught back up. Romano and Patrick side by side and deeper in the field. Many positions swapping. It's almost going to look like it's going to be 3 wide. Ryan Verholst sticks his nose between Bueller and Romano, and that's a difficult place to be right there. But so far, all pretty clean. This could have ended catastrophically on lap 1.
Yeah, it could have been a massive wreck on the first lap, but they're all keeping space, a little bit cautious on the cautious side because they know that it's a 40-minute race, so they've got a pit stop to do. So they're all trying to think, when can I do it? What's the best time to do the pit stop? See, they're all either single file or 2 by 2, all keeping a lot of space between them.
Yeah, Lemons leads out front by himself now, but then they are side by side there, Merrill and Franklin, and now I think Michael Roth is going to try and get in there as well, but we're just reaching the point where some of them have worn the best off the tyres and they're having to roll out of the throttle a little bit through some of the corners. The biggest gainers up and down the field, though, is Justin Hall is up 6 spots. Mike Henry Jr. is up 5. So those are some cars that have worked their way well through the traffic off the start. Your top 4 are now back in the order that they qualified.
Yep, it's all about that draft, isn't it, around here? It's trying to keep it around. And just as you say that, Fleming gets ahead of Franklin, but that'll only be for a short time. As behind them, they're all starting to stack up a little bit, starting to resemble what you'd see at Daytona, a bit of a 2 by 2 affair of line down the bottom, line at the top. And it is led by Lamos, so they're all together. I think it's at least a 14-car pack there for the lead.
Yeah, indeed. Looks like the tyre's starting to wear out a little bit, though. I saw a little bit of a slide through some of the corners for Justin Lamans while he tried to keep the throttle pinned, and a big washout from one of the HJ cars. I did miss who it was, but there's a couple of them in the field, of course. And Justin Hall has just gone and set the fastest lap of the race deep in the pack. He's made use of some good slipstreaming, and that's why he's up 6 spots as well. Side by side for the lead again, because Evan Merrill is trying to go low to get the pass done on Justin Lamers. It hasn't happened. And I think as the tyres have worn out, the packs are actually getting closer and closer together.
Yeah, they're all realising what their limit grip limit is, and some of them as well will be trying to give that advantage there. 3 wide to the tri-oval there. On the grass.
Bueller on the grass in the D-oval, indeed. Yeah, not afraid of any little bit of drifting. Catches a little bit of the apron. I nearly said apex there. It's not the apex. The apron is not it there. And he slid all the way up, cost himself a lot of momentum that he had tried to hold on to by cutting across some of the grass. Mike Henry Jr. now in 3rd. That's up 12 spots. What on earth is going on there? That is a charge and a half from him. Has he found a secret, or is he going to have no tyres left in about 5 minutes' time?
Well, he's bumping the rear bumper of Nate Franklin, telling him to move out of the road, please, as he keeps his charge going. And now you can see everyone's on the outside line because of the way the tyres are worn out. Oh, and Bueller's not really liking it as well. He just slid up a bit through 1. There's 3 wide behind, but they're still going well.
Mike Henry Jr. down low to the inside for the lead. He got a great run off turns 1 and 2. Now he's on the inside of 3 and 4, and Justin Lamers looks like he just can't keep it stuck up high there. The high line seems slightly preferable. They'll stay side by side for the lead, but from 13th, 14th on the grid, Mike Henry Jr. might just get scored as leading a lap this time.
And he did by only 0.02 of a second then, but he's going to charge ahead as well. He's going to clear him. He will as well. So there we go. Mike Henry Jr. to the lead of the race. And now Lemos is going to say, no way, Jose. To the inside he goes. He'll get the overlap into 3. He'll go right beside him through 3. Could he clear him before 4? So you can see that inside line for Verd. He's going to push up there, nearly hitting fenders there. Out of 4, they're side by sides of the tri-oval. Who will it lead this time? I think it'll be Henry Jr. again by a bigger margin this time, but they're still side by side into 1.
Yeah, through 1 and 2 is where Henry Jr. had a little bit more speed up high earlier, but I think you can probably be quick down low, but it might wear the tyres out a little bit quicker. Down the back stretch, much better run from Henry Jr. And in his line there, he's got Evan Merrill, he's got Christopher Flamion, and he's got Ryan Verholst. Up front on the low line, well, that's still being led by Justin Lamers, but now Evan Merrill drops down to join that line. That's an interesting move. Maybe the low line looking good now. Certainly it's got Alexander Bueller and Nate Franklin still in that line, and you have to go all the way back to 20th place before there's a car that isn't covered within 1 second of the car in front. So it's a 19-car breakaway that we've eventually managed to form after 10 laps.
Yep, and they're all still trying to get themselves up to the front there. As you can see, that inside line's now formed up there. A little 4-car breakaway on that inside line.
Verholst into the outside wall in 3 and 4, riding the wall out there. I'm not sure he picked up a lot of damage, but he definitely pushed wide, lost a couple of spots. He's gotten back and carried on, but he's dropped out of the top 10 now.
It'll be a shame for him, but he's still got another 30 minutes left of the race to, or around that, to gain the position. Now here we go. Henry Jr. looking for, he's got a run on the outside. Side by side with Lemos into 3. Oh, they're all just sliding up high. They don't want to hit the wall. Some of them are doing the Larson line as well, staying right up against that outside wall. And Lemos will lead another lap. Henry Jr. still there, and you've got Clement and Merle just behind him, trying to help him.
I feel very justified during qualifying from saying that I thought Austin Burdick would be higher up, because he's now moved up into 12th spot. That's 12 positions gained from him. So he's one of the big gainers. Unfortunately, you know, every position you gain means someone else has lost one. Michael Roth, who was running very well in the top 5, now down into 18th. So down 11 spots for him. And well, as I say that, he goes and loses another one, but quite a few drivers struggling with what looks like the front right tyre. So just seeing Christopher Flamion lose a little bit of a touch with the lead as he pushed really hard through turns 3 and 4. And up the front, they're almost single file all the way back to 6th place John Patrick. Lamons and Henry Jr. still side by side up front, but then it's a little bit more single file behind them. We'll see if that continues as the tyres wear out for our leaders.
You can see as well behind them, especially with Franklin, Bueller, Fleming and Patrick. They're all sort of they were in pairs, but they're not anymore. You can see the leaders are still side by side and they're behind them, they're 2x2. So, and I think as well that 19-car breakaway might just become a 10-car breakaway here very shortly.
It's possible a little bit of a gap forming. I think that the two leaders going side by side isn't quite helping them. It just means that they slow each other down slightly and they provide a bigger slipstream for the cars behind that whichever way they want to follow. It's almost too wide again through most of the field because Alexander Bueller has gone side by side with Nate Franklin to try and move himself further up and potentially into the top 3. And he slots back in, so he's grabbed a position away from Nate Franklin. Evan Merrill still running in 3rd there. And Lamons and Henry now have been side by side 6 laps. This doesn't look like it's going to end anytime particularly soon. Lamons looks like he's still comfortable down low, and this time Henry Jr. loses a bit of speed, pushes up higher than he wanted to on the high line. So now he goes side by side with Evan Merrill.
Yeah, but he's the only one on that outside line for at least another 10 car lengths because there's a little 3-car or 4-car now on that outside line, but they're all going to the inside line and trying to stay there. As now Merrill is trying to pass Henry Jr., but Henry gets that run off the corner. And behind then you've got Bueller. He's looking inside, outside. Where does he want to go? He does not know yet.
It's looking almost 3 wide. I think it is 3 wide with Franklin, Burdick and Flamion back there. Actually a teeny bit further in the pack than that, but definitely Christopher Flamion in a little bit of a 3 wide pickle there. That's a mid-pack very, very fiercely fought over, and Austin Burdick's moved his way up into 6th now. So he's making his way to the front. It really seems like if you're in the middle pack, or deeper in the pack at the start of the race, you had an opportunity to just look after your tyres, make clever moves, position your car cleverly, and then you might have a bit more later in this stint. 12 minutes done. I think we might be about 8 away from a lot of cars deciding to come down the pit lane. But you probably don't want to drop down pit road all by yourself. You'd want to follow someone else down, because if you end up in a no man's land without a draft, I think you'd drop pretty quickly.
Yeah, but it's the shorter version of the Daytona. It's just all about that draft. Down with a partner going into pit road, you're basically screwed. But at the moment, I think everyone's sussing out, trying to see, if someone goes down, will I go with him or not? So they're all just sticking 2x2. Oh, there's a little tap. Cars around to the wall.
We've got our first big wreck in 3 and 4. That looks like Christopher Flamion and Ryan Verhulst dropping down the order very, very quickly.
2-car wreck just became a 4-car wreck. I didn't see who that was, but there were cars on their roof there, so...
To go for a replay of that one. Christopher Flamion was on the high side of the 0-1 car and squeezed down a little bit tight. That would have been John Macchione, and that's just put Flamion into a spin right up the racetrack, and then a couple of other cars like Verhulst and others could not avoid him.
Yep, just a little tap there through 3 to send him around, and he could have kept it up there, but he tried to save it and was a bit too late. And then a 2-car wreck, it became a 4-car wreck. I think another 2 cars got involved. But other than that, not the big one just yet.
Back up live at front, still Henry Jr. and Lamons side by side. Austin Burdick, though, now running in 3rd place.
Yep, he's made his way up the front no matter what. Oh, Lemos is a little bit sideways there through 4. He's going to lose a spot to Burdick, and Burdick's going to have a look now for Henry Jr.'s leading position.
So Burdick now running second. And big slide from Henry Jr. He pushes all the way up the racetrack, and Austin Burdick says thank you, drops down low and takes the race lead away. And now the pack behind, Merrill, Lamons, Bueller, Franklin are all closing up on Mike Henry Jr. Maybe all of those laps of running side by side on the high line has worn his tyres out just a little bit too much. I don't think the slipstream will let Austin Burdick get too far away, though. Now Alexander Bueller's back up to his old tricks, cutting across the grass on the start-finish line.
Yep, and now we've got late into the race, David. We're now really starting to thin out the field here up front. It was, as you said before, a 19-car breakaway. It's turning into a 6 or 7-car breakaway, as Henry Jr. is now right there with Burdick. I think he's looking for his lead position back, but off of 4, he looks to the inside. Will he get the run? Yes, he will. He'll get the overlap as well. Be side by side with him. Behind them, they're nearly 3 wide. Now Henry Jr.'s on the inside. Will he get the nose in front? Yes, he will, and he will clear Burdick into 1. Through 2 they go, and Merrill on the outside is looks for a run, but now Burdick on the inside has a run out of 2. Side by side through 3 they go.
I certainly think that wreck we saw in 3 and 4 meant that a couple of cars had to lift out of the throttle to avoid it, and that caused a little bit of a rift between the cars that were in front of it and the cars that were behind. So basically a 12-car breakaway it is, and it's probably where we'd expect to see our leader come from. They're still side by side, Henry Jr. and Burdick, and then the line behind that is Merrill and Lamons. Merrill pushes up just a little bit high. Plenty of drivers figuring out that if they come in a little bit too hot, then it really scrubs the speed through the middle of the corner. So Bueller running 5th. Nate Franklin just grabs 6th from Brian Molitor. And then John Macchione, having been squeezed down upon by Chris Flamion, still survives. He's running in the top 10, along with Jordan Babcock in 9th and Giovanni Romano rounding out your top 10 as they run right now.
But then you've got 2 other cars there behind us, Stanley and Patrick, in that 12-car breakaway. And they're starting to sort of give a bit of a gap to each other, and sort of realise, all right, we've got to try and save tyres and fuel, as Lemos nearly got the wall out of 2 there. Got a little bit squeezed by Burdick. And now in front of those 2, Mr. Merrill is looking for a way past Henry Jr. or way beside him. They come out of 4. They're still going to be single file. Oh, no, that's Lemos.
Both of them side by side through the... across the start-finish line. Lamons manages to get a hold of it. Bueller very sideways on the grass, has kept it off the wall. I think he'll get going again, but he's lost a lot of time, lost a lot of positions, and lost a lot of momentum. But he's very lucky to keep it off the wall. Let's look at the replay of that one.
I think that was a case of just hitting maybe a little bit too high up on the exit. Yeah, it was. They just met in the middle there. Bueller went up a bit too high, and, well, really, Lemos had nowhere to go. He was up there on the wall. He couldn't go up and he couldn't go down. But good thing for Lemos, though, was that he got going again, but he's lost a lot of time to the leaders.
It's also created quite a significant gap between 3rd place and 4th place. So Henry Jr., Evan Merrill, and Austin Burdick together, and then those cars of Lamons and Bueller were right behind them. Now that they've disappeared, it caused a little bit of a moment for Nate Franklin and John Macchione and those who are just behind. They might catch up. They're not out of the draft range, no siree, but they're not side by side, and they're not right underneath the bumper of that car in front.
No, they're not. It's all about, at the moment, it's all about trying to stay in the draft. Not try and be as close to the car in front as you want, because you want to save tyres as much as you can. So now the top 10 is really thinned out. It's about 2.5 seconds separating that top 10, whereas a few laps ago, it was 2.5 seconds separating the top 20. So it shows you how little wrecks can happen that can make a massive effect on the field.
Yeah, especially in the absence of cautions. If you lose a little bit of momentum, lose touch with a particular pack, it's so difficult to get back up there, get back in that particular slipstream. I don't think we've seen anyone really manage to recover from, contact with the walls or going for slides or anything like that. Losing 2 seconds at one point is just so difficult to get back later in the race.
Yeah, but it's not like there'll be a mandatory caution. As you said before, there's no cautions at all. So it's all about trying to get your time back in green flag racing or through strategy, which it was very unlikely this one. But we'll see what can happen.
For 5th place, Jordan Babcock's now leading his own little train there. He's got Giovanni Romano right behind, and then John Macchione, Brian Molitor, and Marshall Stanley and Justin Lehman's going side by side. And now Macchione will try to go to the inside of Romano, and that just about works this time. That's Justin Lehman's is diving into the pit lane, and that's pretty well our first stop we've seen that hasn't been necessitated by damage. So from running for the lead for the longest time, he shuffled a bit down. Justin Lehman's has decided now is the time to make his pit stop, presumably get some new tyres. Let's have a look at what he does in the number 60 car. So that pit entry has not really worked out for him that well. Fortunately for him, though, he will have a fast repair available to him, and boom, it all pops out clean again. But it just shows that when you've been running all these laps and you've worn the tyres down, the pit entry is so treacherous when you've got to slow that thing down to the pit lane's speed limit.
Merrill up the front as well. He is looking and he's making moves as well. He's on the inside and is going to be clear of Henry Jr. if he can get it into 3. He's got the inside. He's got the preferred line through 3, but it doesn't matter. You've got worn tyres. Henry Jr. all the way on the wall. Will he keep the lead out of 4? They're still side by side. They'll try and clear on behalf of Carlings. Not even that. And you've also got Burdick and Franklin behind him as well, so a little 4-car breakaway for the lead, and then you've got a Badcock behind. Look at them go. They're trying their hardest to get track position, but they just cannot with the tyres they're on. So I would not be surprised if we see 1 or 2 of these cars pit soon to try and get an advantage on the competitors that is there. Henry Jr., I think, is still looking for a pit entry.
Well, he's definitely down on the apron trying to get it slowed down, and there's a couple of cars that are going to try and follow in with him. Macchione tried and has come in too hot and had to abort out of it. So Mike Henry Jr., I think, just got it down to the pit lane speed limit in time. So he, from the lead, this is a big, brave call from him, and he must have a lot of faith in where a set of new tyres will put him out. So he gets into his pit stall right now, and fuel going in. Does it go up on the jacks? I don't think so. I definitely saw the car go up on the jacks for Justin Lehman's. Mike Henry Jr., no tyres, just fuel, the proper Lightning McQueen way.
Yes, no tyres, just gas. And you can see as well at the front that what was 4 and then became 3 is becoming a 4-car breakaway again, as Babcock is coming with a vengeance. So now Burdick and Merrill are side by side for the lead. It's actually a 3-car breakaway still that are on the lead lap, because the car in front, Zach Price, is a lap down.
Yeah, Zach Price has already made a pit stop, and I'm seeing a lot of pit times that are around 22, 23 seconds. I think that's how long it takes to change a set of tyres. Mike Henry Jr. only did 17 seconds of fuel, so he's saved himself a little bit of time there, but he's back on the lane again. Did he speed on the way out? Disaster for his race. He was worked so hard.
I think I saw a car, might have been the 60 car of Lemos, just hit the inside wall hard out of 2. I think it was him as well. He's got damage to the left side, sorry, the right side of the car. Look at the replay of it up on screen. And it looks like, oh no, the 01 car of, if I can find his name.
John Macchioni.
Yeah, John Macchioni. He's come down, and again, Lemos is involved in another person's incident. Or did I think Lemos went up? No, sorry, he did. Yeah, he did go up, and then got the 01 car, and then into the inside wall he went. So that's 2 in a row. So he's sadly, I think, trying to make it a pit lane now. So he's already used his fast repair. Is there only one fast repair in this race, Dave?
I believe there's 2 for tonight's race.
2, okay. So he's lucky there. He's got another fast repair to use. He'll come down to pit road. He'll lose another lap, maybe 2 more laps. So that'll sadly be his race, well, his winning contention's over.
So 2 pit stops made for Mike Henry. 3 now. He's back on the lane again. So massive dramas for that number 92 car. Not sure what's going on there, but he's having all manner of troubles.
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be anything to do with pit stop. It might be, it either is, or it might be hardware issues he's having, and he's having to come back in to try and fix it. But the more times he does, the more laps he loses, and his chances of winning become less and less. But at the moment, Merrill is looking like he's extending this lead over Budick as they come across the line to start the 41st lap of the race.
So well and truly past the halfway point of the race, and quite a few cars haven't pitted yet. There's a bunch that have, and the highest place of the drivers that have pitted is Justin Hall right now, and then Daniel Bartz, and then Christopher Flammy, and then Antonio Alvarez. So they're on the alternative strategy, but they're not in a draft pack. They've all been separated by their pit entries. This is going to shape up interestingly towards the end, and our top pack has thinned out into 2, really. We've got the top 4, Merrill, Burdick, Babcock, and Franklin. Then behind that, John Patrick leading his own little train that is quite well glued together with Macchioni, Molitor, Blanton, Romano, Stanley, and Bueller.
Going up to the front there, so they're all sort of separated by at least 3 to 4 tenths to each other. With that pack behind us, led by John Patrick, it's doing pretty well. They're 2 by 2, and they could, if they can, catch up to that pack of 4 that's up in front. They've got to gain at least 4 seconds to try and catch up, and they're doing all right at the moment.
Macchioni slid up into the outside wall a teeny bit, and I think Dylan Blanton followed him along with it. That might have been Brian Molitor. They're all in the pack in there together. That's where our closest racing is right now. This battle for 5th place that John Patrick just continues to lead. None of these guys jumping down onto pit road just yet. They come through 3 and 4. Does anyone think about it? No one this time, I don't think. And we've seen that pit entry is quite treacherous once you've worn your tyres down.
Yeah, it is, and they're all trying to just find some sort of grip. The tyres won't go off a cliff, but they're not going to improve. Coming out of 2, they're all close. They're all going to be very antsy now as we're past the halfway mark. We're getting towards 10 minutes to go, and they'll be getting towards the end of their tank, so it'll be getting a bit more antsy as the timer clicks on down.
Here's something to think about. Justin Hall pitted 5 laps ago, and his most recent lap, a 37.3. John Patrick, who's leading this group of guys who've stayed out, they're all doing 37.7s. Your leader doing a 37.5. So Justin Hall, Daniel Bartz, Christopher Flammy, they're all lapping quicker now than the cars that have stayed out. And, by tenths of a second, not smaller margins than that. So there's definitely a case to be made for those guys that pitted for new tyres earlier. It just remains to be seen, can any of these guys go to the end on fuel if they've had plenty of slipstream? Or, you know, if they have to pit with just a couple laps to go, how quick can their stop be? Certainly the lap times are looking good for everyone who's been down pit lane, presuming that these other cars are going to have to pit.
And also as well, you've got to worry about those guys that did the alternate strategy and pitted earlier, not in a draft pack. Could they be able to catch up, gain the time back that they've lost on the lead pack or a group of cars, especially like this big one led by John Patrick, and see if they can get even more place than what they did before? But we're getting towards that 30-minute window, that 30-minute mark where they'll all start pitting. So I think you'll see a lot of cars going down the pit road next couple of laps here.
Looking right up the front though, Evan Merrill's built a little bit of a gap away from this battle for second place, which is Jordan Babcock and Austin Burdick. And Jordan Babcock now just in front in that battle, and these are guys who've come from deep in the field to be running in the podium spots. Babcock up 10 spots, Burdick up 21 as it is right now. It just goes to show that on an oval, qualifying isn't everything, so long as you've got a good race car and you know how to race.
You give more room than you want to give, so let's see what any of these guys can do. But will we see? Because if we see this whole entire pack, this pack for what is 5th at the moment, entire pack pit, this will be a very interesting scenario. We'll see. But who will pit now? I'm guessing there'll be a couple cars pitting now, trying to get an undercut on the pack, and no one takes to the pits. So, ooh.
Interesting strategy game playing out, I think, there. And while we think about that, Dylan Blanton has taken 5th place away from John Patrick. We'll see what that does to the pace of this pack, but really I think we're still looking around the 37.7s, 37.8s. So Patrick runs in 6th, Molitor loses a spot to Alexander Bueller. Those two side by side. Someone's around. What car was that? Was a car that was a couple laps down already. I think it was the... goodness, I'm not sure. I'll have to look back real quick.
I think it was Corey Ensing and another car, I don't know, might have been the car that was in the back of that pack as well.
It's Corey Ensing and Alex Albert, and yeah, not quite sure what Alex Albert saw, but Ensing gets turned around, and he's facing backwards in turn 3, and it's not ended well for him, to say the least. So Ensing was already running, I think, quite far down the order, and is now in space. Couple more cars decide that the pit lane is for them. One of them is Shane Cameron, but the rest of that top 10 pack from 5th on down remain out. Blanton in the Texaco Camaro, leading that one still, and come through 3 and 4 once again, and no one wants to jump down onto pit lane. So 8 minutes to go. This is going to get very, very spicy. Is anyone going to maybe run out of fuel on the last lap? That happened in the last race that I commentated. If I say it's likely, maybe it'll happen.
Well, it'll be amazing if we do see it, but at the moment they're all playing in the safe strategy. There's 3 wide behind. Oh, there's a little tap, but they're all still going. I think that was... Fuck, I got Marshall Stanley went through the middle and nearly caused another wreck, but they're still going 2 by 2. No one going into the pits yet.
All trying to get past the lap down car of Kyle Smith there. And then in this pack, there's been a couple cars join, like Alex Albert, Philip Linden, and Dennis Halverson, who are having their own battle here, a lap down from the other cars. So we've got a pack, and there's effectively two battles happening stuck in this one pack. And that might have been one of the causes of frustration for Alex Albert that led into that crash for Corey Ensing. We'll see. Again, another time around for this pack, and they all stay out. No one wants to blink from this. They're going to go as long as they think they can. And maybe they've come 10 laps into the race, seen the fuel consumption in the pack, and realized they can do it as the tires wear down, as they stay in the draft.
Oh, as you speak of it, 17.01 in that middle pack, 17. Oh, no. No, that's... Oh, 17, I've got to look back at who that was. So we had Bueller in the 17 car. I think it was Bueller and it was Macchione got together through the middle of 1 and 2. Look at the replay of it, so... Yes.
And so sent Macchione down into Bueller, and Bueller trying to get control of it, slides back up onto the racetrack, gets collected by the 14, and then ends up sideways and doesn't get hit again, thankfully. But a tough ride there for Alexander Bueller and for John Macchione, who has continued, but Alexander Bueller, I think, has parked that. Or maybe it just took him a while to get a forward gear, but definitely lost a lot of time, a lot of spaces, a lot of momentum. 5 minutes or so to go, and up front, Evan Merrill is padding out his gap to 2.7 seconds, and Burdick has now gotten clear of Jordan Babcock, and those three are then well and truly up the road from this pack that now also includes Nate Franklin in 4th, Dylan Blanton 5th, Patrick 6th, Molitor 7th, Stanley 8th, and then a little bit of time, it's Macchione 9th and Romano 10th. So bit by bit, as racing has happened, as little incidents have transpired, we've lost that giant pack we've had, but the best one remains 4th place on down as Blanton and Franklin battle.
Well, they're all 2x2. Nose and tail, try and make it 3 wide on the top. Will he make it? Yes, he will just. Oh, he's going to go for it as well, but they're all figuring out what they're going to do. Oh, and now they're tapping the wall. They're trying, as you see, they're trying their hardest to use that outside line, trying to get by other cars, but it's just not working. The tyres are not there yet, or used to not be there. So
I can't help but wonder if maybe there's a big concern there for Nate Franklin, because he was running in 4th, clear of this pack. Now he's fallen back into this group, and now they've almost left him for dust. He's back into 8th place now. He was 4th not long ago. Maybe driving along by himself, he's burnt through the tires, maybe he's burnt through the fuel, not sure, but he'll try and stick in the draft of Marshall Stanley, but it's not looking altogether that likely. So now Blanton in 4th, and Molitor and Patrick side by side there. There's still the case where we've got Matt Reed and Dennis Halverson in this battle, who are a lap down, but having their 2 laps down each, but in their own little battle as well, and using the slipstream of the cars that are some laps up. So that makes the identification more difficult, but all these cars racing together as a pack, and Franklin dropping even further. He's no longer part of this pack.
he's tried his hardest as a kid to try and stay with him, but sadly he's dropping further and further back. So I think his tyres out, or maybe he's trying to save a lot of fuel, but he's falling a bit too far back to do it. So he might actually have ran out of tyres already. So,
well, clearly the story in this race now is the stoppers versus the no stoppers, and Evan Merrill from the lead onto the pit lane with 2.5 minutes to go. So that is huge. Austin Burdick carries on and into the lead of the race. Surely just a splash and dash at this point for Evan Merrill to get to the end. Can he come out in front of Justin Hall and Daniel Bartz. Can any of these other cars that have been in the slipstream really go 5 laps longer than Evan Merrill can?
Well, don't forget as well, Merrill was out front by himself, so he had no slipstream at all. So these other guys might have a chance to go another 5 laps. But it depends if they were actually fuel saving or not during those laps that they were on a pack together.
So 9 seconds of fuel for Evan Merrill. He comes out in 12th place, ahead of every other car that has pitted. So he maintains that kind of track position. All the cars in front of him at this point have not pitted. Burdick being scored in the lead. This pack of Blanton, Babcock, Molitor, Patrick, Stanley is now the battle for second if any of them can make it to the end. Surely getting towards running on fumes are some of these competitors. I was told on good accord that the fuel numbers would mean everyone would have to pit, but that's not entirely looking to be the case. Looks like Burdick will have 2 more laps to run as he's just crossed the line. And someone, 14, I think that must be like Halverson or someone, cutting across plenty of the interior. And a lot of cars slowing down as if they realized they've got to hit a fuel number. Babcock, that really looks like he's rolling around at maybe 85% throttle, letting a bunch of cars past. Is that car about to cough? Is he doing everything he can to roll it across the line? Not sure. Austin Burdick will see the white flag. 30 seconds left, 1 lap to go for the 07 car to try and take the win, and he is not traveling quickly at all. His last lap a 38.7, more than 2 seconds off his best lap, so he's going to try and maybe clutch coast this thing across the line, but he's got 7 seconds to the cars behind. Burdick might just be able to do it. He's well off his pace. This will be another very, very slow lap, but he rolls out of turn 4. He's got the gap. If he's got just a cough of fuel left, then he will cross the line now. I thought that was going to be the checkered flag, but again, I look very, very silly. The white flag waves that time. So he'd slowed up a lot, but it hadn't been recognized by race control. He does another 38-second lap. He is saving that fuel. Dylan Blanton in second is 6 seconds down the road now, running a little bit quicker, but who will run out of fuel? Who will fade? Burdick managing that fuel so clearly because he's 2 seconds a lap off the pace right now.
Well, and he's actually going to come out of the last corner. White flag now, the checkered flag in hand. He will win and out of fuel as well. So that's how you time it perfectly. Austin Burdick wins here at Charlotte. Dylan Ben will come home in 2nd place. Brian Moltier nearly got 2nd, but he'll come home 3rd. 4th will be John Patrick. 5th, Marshall Stanley. 6th, Giovanni Romeo. And then Babcock comes home in 7th. 8th, Nate Franklin after what was going to be a 4th place finish. And then John McOney comes home in 9th. He slid across the line, I think, and also he came around backwards, and then 10th will be David Hall. Actually, sorry, no, Evan Merrill came home in 10th, just in front of Hall. So they're all still coming across the line, and I think that'll be all the cars on the lead lap across the finish line.
Oh, wow, so a story of fuel saving is what this race ended up being, and a few cars made it work and a few didn't. So I think Evan Merrill, how did he grab one last spot at the line? That's what I'm looking at. Oh, he's hit a car that was out of fuel, I think. I think David Hall was stopped and out of fuel, and Merrill's made contact with him. Well, we've had a look at the top 10. We'll probably read a little bit further down our finishing order now. 11th place did end up being David Hall. 12th was Alexander Bueller. 13th, Jeremy Rogers. And then 14th was Justin Hall. 15th, Daniel Bartz. 16th, Martin Lippincott. 17th, Antonio Alvarez. 18th, Zach Price. 19th, Shane Cameron. And 20th, Jeff Costello. 21st then is Kyle Neville Lift Smith. 22nd, Alex Albert, a couple laps down. On the same lap as him was Philip Linden and Andrew Wheat. Further lap down there was Matt Reed, Dennis Halverson, Ryan Verholst, Justin Lamans, One more lap down from that, Ben Dunn, another lap, Michael Roth, and then effective retirements, we're looking at Chris Flamion, Corey Ensing, Mike Henry Jr., for what we can only assume was technical problems for a man who charged up through the field and led quite a few laps. And then Daniel Thompson, also a retirement. We're going to grab a word now with our race winner, Austin Burdick. I'll have a look and see if I can grab him. So, yes, race winner, Austin Burdick, should be with us here. Have you got me, Austin?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Well, that looked like a real story of fuel saving. At what point in this race did you realize it was going to be possible to make it without a stop? And did you have any doubt?
I did some practice and I figured we could go 65, but that was alone. And during the race, I ended up using a lot of fuel getting through the field. I started 24th, and right when I got to the lead, I checked my fuel, noticed I was about 8 gallons of our original 16 at the halfway mark, and figured if I save enough, I might just be able to make it. And
well, a win is a win no matter how you get it. And I mean, tell us how the tires wore through the race, because the track temperatures cooled off a little bit, but it's a bit of an unsophisticated brute of a car on its tires.
about halfway through the race, the tires start to get a bit slick, start to slide through the corners, and you really start to lose it through 3 and 4. So you have to start letting off the gas, which does help you save fuel and really help work into our favor for the.
Well, congrats on that one, and up 23 spots from your qualifying, race winner, but also, more importantly, the Dick Insider hard charger of the race. Anyone you would like to thank, Austin?
I just thank all you guys for running the race. Thank everyone for, racing me clean. And it didn't seem like there were that many wrecks in that race. So that was pretty good. And I want to thank everyone that's watching the stream and my stream. Well,
awesome. Congrats on that win. Should also have second place Dylan Blanton. Do we?
Yes.
Well, second place, and also a good run there from you to grab second, up 15 positions. I think qualifying really felt like it didn't matter in this race, so long as you knew how to race in a pack.
Somewhat. I know Austin was up near the front on his qualifying time. That definitely helped him. I was able to take advantage of mine because I ran at the back of the first pack, lifting a lot, and I think that helped me through the long green run because I had saved so much fuel already and had better tires, so I was able to run through the field from what I could pass, and then we had some people who had to pit, and in the end I only ran out probably 100 yards before the finish line, so I timed it about perfect.
Well, a good points haul here in round 2. Will we expect to see you for many more of the remaining rounds of season 26?
Most of them, yeah. I'm trying to do a run in it. I just skipped last week because I didn't think it was going to go well either way for me, but I should be here for the rest of the season.
Well, awesome. Congrats on standing on the podium once again in RAL. Any thanks you'd like to give?
Not at this point, but thank you guys for putting on the league. It's definitely been a fun thing for me every Sunday.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And lastly, I think we should have Brian Molitor in here. Not sure if we do. Well, we spoke to our top 2, and congratulations to them in what was a long form strategy kind of race.
Yeah, they all got us at the end there. We all thought it would be a one stopper. Do you want to take tiles or not? But at the end there, it was all about what can you do with that right foot, which in the end played out to our top 2 there.
Yeah, indeed. So a fascinating race once again, and we want to thank you all for tuning in to HJBC. Hopefully, there's no round next weekend, but later on into this season, we will be bringing you coverage once again. We hope you'll tune in for that from us. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.